Hello, fans of Let's Talk Chicago Bears. Well, it's getting closer and closer to the end of the season, isn't it? It is what, week 15? Ooh, 3 games left. Wow, 3 games left. Um, and it's been a year, hasn't it? Whew. Okay, let's get started. Let's talk about first of all, I want to. Well, no, I'll do it at the end of the show. So we're playing the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are 6-7, as the Bears are 6-7. So they're both in the same group. They've played 115 times. The record is 61 victories for the Vikings, 52 victories for the Bears, and 2 ties. The Vikings, I was kind of surprised by this. I didn't realize this. The Vikings didn't even come into the league till 1961 as an expansion team. So I thought they'd been around longer, but not apparently. So, and we played them one time in a playoff game. It was a wild card game in 1994, and we won 35-18. Woo! A win is a win is a win. All right. Let's get to the usual things that I talk about on Fridays. So the Bears offense um, is ranked, total offense is ranked 27th. The Bears defense is ranked 5th. The Vikings offense is ranked 13th, and their overall defense is ranked 18th. So they've got us on offense. We've got them on defense. And then special teams, I added that today. Special teams, the Bears are ranked 23rd. I honestly thought it was going to be a little higher the way Patterson has been going. And then Vikings are 31st. So on these three categories, we got them 2 out of 3. Whether that's going to mean anything, I don't know. So let's go. What we're our total passing yards per game is pass yards are 226, averaging a game. That puts our passing game at 24th in the league. Our rush, we're up to 93 yards an average game, which ranks us 28th in the league. Points scored, we pretty much stayed right around this area. We have gone up in rushing, and because we were third, God, at one point we were 30, we were last, and then we went up to 31, and we've been slowly climbing up in the rush department, probably because Nagy isn't calling the plays until the last 4 minutes of that Detroit game, and we know Nagy was calling those plays, but we're going to move on from that debacle. And then points allowed by the defense are an average about 22 points we allow, which ranks them 9th. So that's good. The Vikings are ranked passing wise. They're 17th in the league, and they average about 238 yards. So it's not a big difference there. Here's the big difference where the defense is really going to have to buckle down is rushing. They average 147 yards a game. Well, you'll know why, because they have Dalvin Cook, and that puts them at 6th in the league. Scores, points scored, they're 26th in the. They score an average of 26 points a game, which ranks them 24th. 14th. We're 24th. They're 14th. Remember, I told you, brain pickled. I did grow up partying in the 80s, after all, and the 90s. And then points allowed, they've given up about 27 points, which ranks them 24th. So we got them on defense. They've got us on everything else. Mitchell has played 7 games now, and he has thrown for 1,336 yards. He has thrown 10 TDs, 10 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Not a great ratio. I was kind of surprised by that one, to be honest with you. He's been sacked 18 times. Kirk Cousins has played all 14 games, and he has 3,298 yards of passing. So way better, way better. He's got 27 touchdowns with only 12 interceptions. Much better ratio, but he's been sacked 31 times. So for um, the defense has got to get after him. And after we go through the stats, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Let's just finish up. Then we got our running back, David Montgomery, who is at 760 yards rushing. He should have more. He really, really should. He should be around. He could easily be at 1,000 if we had a coach that knew how to fucking run the ball. He has scored 4 touchdowns. And then our leading wide receiver is obviously Allen Robinson. He has 1,027 yards. I'm really glad to see he passed it again. That's at least the second time he's done that. Okay, so Dalvin Cook, the running back for the Minnesota Twins, he is just awesome. He has 1,352 yards rushing and 14 touchdowns. Yeah, you heard me. We're in trouble here. And then their leading receiver, Justin Jefferson, has 1,078 yards with 7 touchdowns. The Bears' defense has sacked their opponent quarterbacks 30 times, and the Vikings have sacked their opposing quarterbacks 21 times. So, we're not that much different. I mean, we on paper are better defensive wise, and they're better offensive wise. So that when that happens, you're going to have a clash of the Titans. And what I think is, and I know Kirk Cousins very well. As I've said many, many times on my show, I'm a football geek. And I know for a woman, 62-year-old woman, I love football. I watch college football all Saturday, sometimes Friday nights if there's a good game on, all day Saturday. And then I watch Sunday NFL, Monday night NFL, Thursday night NFL. But as far as Kirk Cousins, he went to Michigan State, and I'm a Big Ten fan. I lived in Illinois, obviously. And I was a Big Ten fan. I followed all the Big Ten's teams. I like most of them, except for the obvious Ohio. Yuck. But I do like them. Actually, Northwestern's one of my favorites, and Michigan State was my other, because way back when I was working, one of my accounts was Michigan State. With one of my sales reps had Michigan State and Michigan. So I went to visit East Lansing, and the Michigan State campus. Gorgeous little town. I mean, I fell in love. The Michigan State campus was like old buildings with ivy on it and that kind of stuff. Michigan is more of a concrete college where everything's concrete. So I really loved Michigan State. But anyways, so I followed Kirk Cousins. So I do know that I thought he was going to succeed a little bit better in the NFL. I don't know really what went wrong, but I do know he can get rattled. And when he gets rattled, he gets pissed, and he'll throw some interceptions. He's done better this year. He's thrown 12, but which isn't great, but he's thrown 27 touchdowns. So, and he has been sacked 31 times. So, the line's kind of letting him down. But you can get to Kirk Cousins. I guarantee it. I saw him play at Michigan, and I've seen him play a lot in the NFL. You can get to him. So that's what's going to be key for the Bears. Number one, come on, Chuck. Let's start calling some more rushes on the quarterbacks. I don't know why we didn't do that more last week or in the week before. Well, not last week, the week before when we played Detroit. I don't know why they weren't trying to go after Stafford, because he's another one, man. He gets pissed. Well, most quarterbacks, too. They don't like to be sacked, but there's some that do better with it than others, okay? Actually, I think Mitchell does pretty well when he gets sacked. He just kind of gets up and just goes. But some guys are bad at it. So, number one, number one, we're going to have to stop Delvin Cook because he has, I don't know where he is. He must be either first or second. It's probably him and Henry um, in the NFL running right now, but he is good and he can catch. So he's a dual threat. So the Bears are going to have to be on their game if they want to win this game. And Mitchell is saying we're going to have to play like we played last week, and the line's going to have to play like it is. It's just I'm so torn, as I've started talking about last week. People are like, oh, I see, we could go to the playoffs. Do we really want to go to the playoffs and one and done? See, to me, when you just barely make it to the playoffs, when you limp in, that don't do me any good. If I'm going to the playoffs, I want to go to the Super Bowl or at least get to the championship game to be close to the Super Bowl. One and done don't do it for me. Sneaking in. I don't know. Some people just want to be in the playoffs no matter what. You know how much I love my Bears, and I always want them to win. But now we're at a point where I don't know. I'm just so torn. If I knew for sure that they were going to fire Pace and Nagy at the end of the season, I'd be like, yeah, win, win, win. But what concerns me is if we start winning, they're going to leave everything and say, oh, let's try it for one more year. So I don't know. And I've said this before. My dream, which I know is not going to happen, is I'd like to see Mitchell, because his contract's up, get a contract from the Bears, a prove-it contract. But many believe that there's going to be teams that are going to go after Mitchell. I don't know if they are. I think he's got potential, and I think there's other teams that do too. So you give him a prove-it contract, 1 or 2 years, right? You bring in a coach that tells you in the interview, I can mentor him. I know he can be good. He just needs the right coach because we haven't had it with Nagy. So we really do need somebody that if they do hire a new coach, he's got to be able to do that. We got to draft a quarterback. We know that. So I don't know. There's so many options because there's so many rumors with veteran quarterbacks out there, like Carson Wentz, David Carr, believe it or not. Shucks, Kirk Cousins could be in the mix, Matthew Stafford. There's a lot of guys that have their jobs that are uncertain at quarterback, so we'll see. So we'll leave that alone. And then the only real injury that I saw was Buster Seen, and he's number 24, a cornerback. He's out. Looks like he's going to be out again with another concussion, second week in a row. And quite honestly, no disrespect, Buster, you're not missed because he had 3 really bad games in a row before he got concussion 2 weeks ago. Prior to that, he was doing pretty good. He'd be good, he'd be bad, but there were some games where he just cost us badly. So I'm not really a big lover of that guy, so that's okay. You can sit out another week, Buster. So that's the stats for the game. We know what we got to do. We got to keep the penalty down as they've been doing. I've been very impressed. And turnovers would be huge. I like to see the Bears just haven't got enough of them this year. And that's what's really hurt the defense, our offense too, is that we're not getting turnovers, get them back on the field. So really the bottom line is you got to keep Minnesota off the field because you've got that running back that's probably going to run up and down the field and you want to keep them off. So end of the day, you gotta keep Delvin Cook under 100 yards or 100 or less, hopefully, and try to sack Kirk Cousins, make him throw an interception, and keep the penalties down, and give Mitchell a chance. And the other thing is get the running game going like it was last week. Continue, David. Montgomery had 13 yards or something like that last week, and 80 of them were one run, and he only had 11 carries. 11 carries? What the hell is that, Matt Nagy and whoever else is calling the plays? He should have been running up. He should have had 25 carries, and he could have had 200 yards last week, and we all know it, right? So that's my take on that. My story, and I'm sticking to it. Bears win. And it's in Minnesota. All right, so now at my end of the show, I'm going to do a little bear story, true story. And you know what? Thinking about it a lot, I was thinking about it. When I really needed the Bears, they were there for me. And this story will tell you. I know they didn't know I was going to be at that game, but you know what? They picked me up, and I needed it more than anything. So back in 2008, my sister and my niece, her daughter, they knew the personal trainer, the head personal trainer of the Bears, who was with the Bears for a long time. His daughter went to school with my niece. So my sister told him, I'd like to take my sister to a Bears game. She really needs it. And he's like, yeah, I can get you tickets. Now, we had to pay partially for them, but they were really good tickets. So there was four of them. My sister went, I went, our friend Sue and our friend Mary Kay, and the four of us went, and we all took the train because we came from different areas. So the drinking that you'll hear about, we did not drink and drive. So just real quick, I'm not going to get down and out, but in 2008, April of 2008, my husband of over 28 years had passed away. At 49 years old, and after a long illness. So I was just in a bad way. I really, really was. I wasn't smiling. I wasn't happy. I left my job. I was just messed up, more messed up than I am now. And I was down and out. So my sisters surprised me and said, we're going to a game on October 19th, and we're going to go see the Bears play the Vikings. How's that sound? And they're pretty good seats. And I'm like, okay. I was like, okay. So, we get down there, and the seats were really great. They were on the lowest level, main level of Soldier Field. And we were probably right around between the 40 and 35 yard line. And main level. So we were right there, Bear side of the field, and we were in the last row, which was awesome because we could stand up, we could sit on the back of our chairs. I'm 5'1", man. I can never see when somebody sits down in front of me. I cannot tell you the stories of, my neck being kinked, trying to look like this during a movie or a play or sitting up, So, and the beer vendor was right behind us, and then right over there was the bathrooms. So it was perfect. We were like, this rocks. So of course we're partying and stuff, and the game was insane. The score was 48-41, and the Bears won. And I'm telling you, in the second half particularly, you couldn't even get up to go to the bathroom because there was so much scoring or turnovers. It was like, Minnesota had the ball. They get a punt, they have the ball, and they start to go, boom, turnover. And it's like, oh, I can't go yet. So it's like, I gotta pee. Once you pop that bubble the first time you pee, you pop that plug when you're drinking, then you're peeing the rest of the afternoon a million times. For women, I can't say that for men, but that's what happens to women. And it's like, you start to go to the bathroom and you go. So it was hilarious because it'd be like, you'd be in the bathroom and you're like, oh shit, I missed something. But it was the first time since my husband had passed that I had actually laughed out loud and smiled more than 2 seconds. I just looked at my sister and said, this is just a blast. We had so much fun because there was so much scoring and turnovers, and it was just awesome. And here are some of the players, for people that have been watching the Bears a long time. Now, of course, this is obviously, 2008? That was 12 years ago. 13 years ago? 12 years ago. So Kyle Orton was our quarterback. Remember Kyle? Yep. Greg Olson was still with the Bears, our tight end, who ended up going and having a very good career with Carolina, and then finished up in Seattle this year. He got hurt. I don't think he'll be playing anymore. Our kicker was Robbie Gould. Remember him? Our running back, he was a rookie that year, but it was Matt Forte. Everybody remembers Matt. And then our main receiver was Marty Booker. He was one of the main receivers, but do you remember all those guys? I mean, that was great. And it was, we just had so much fun. We got so drunk. I mean, we were laughing and singing, and we sang that damn bad song "Bear Down" every time they score so many times. I actually had it memorized that day. It was just a blast. So um, that was my Minnesota Bears story, true story from back from 2008. And I got to tell you what, we had so much fun. Um, One other thing, I just wonder. I watch a lot of weird shit when I'm watching the games. Like, I love looking at what's going. Well, there's no fans, so this year they don't show fans, but and they don't show fans as much as like they do in baseball because especially in baseball when you're there, you see the fans behind the batter when they're pitching to them. So I always love looking at the fans, especially the ones you could pick out that are drunk. So I'm a big person to notice everything. And this is something I've noticed, and I particularly was thinking about it last night because I noticed it last night a lot. And I've seen it with many coaches. Many coaches have a real problem with the masks in the beginning, as you probably already heard, and John Gruden was one of them. So I've noticed, and I'm wondering if anybody else has picked up on this, or maybe I'm just a little kook. But so you'll see, they'll pan to the sideline, and you'll see a coach, and his mask is down to here, so it's not covering the mouth or the nose. Then all of a sudden, the camera's been on him maybe 10 seconds, and boom, they put it up. I bet you there's a person sitting in the press box or the team box watching the TV. And every time, and it's got a headset, and every time the TV camera goes to the sideline and puts the camera on the coach, he says, "You're on TV." And then the coaches put their masks on. I've seen it a lot. It just seems to be very coincidental to me that I've seen 4 or 5 coaches in many games where the mask is down and the TV guys look at it and then boom, they put it up. And then the next time you see them, it's down again and boom, they do it again. So there's somebody, that's their job to watch to make sure that they get those masks up because several teams had been fined a lot. I know the Raiders were fined a real lot. So I don't know. I just wondered if you guys, I don't know, I thought it was funny. Did anybody else notice that or am I just a freak? And so if you haven't noticed it, make note. See, Nagy keeps it on all the time. I don't think I've ever seen him rue it, so you might have to watch other games, but I watch so many games. I got to tell you what, I watched the game last night, the Chargers-Raiders game, and that, you know what, it was a very well-played game. I was very impressed, and the Chargers have themselves a quarterback. Dang! Why can't we get a quarterback? Anyways, I'm not going to have a temper tantrum today. And I just wanted to say a shout out to another fan. I told you about a Cleveland Brown fan who was watching my show, even though he's a Cleveland Brown fan. I had a Detroit fan say the same thing. They came across my show about the Detroit Lions that week and liked it. And I think that person subscribed. So it's kind of cool. And they said, "You make me laugh." And I'm like, you know what? That's the idea. I had one of my loyal early subscribers said to me, and I might have said this last week, he said that he laughed out loud for a minute when I was talking about the Bears uniforms last week on Monday about those stripes that made me think of the Lollipop Gang from The Wizard of Oz. And he said he laughed out loud. And that made me really happy. Because you know what? I'm doing this show because I love to entertain. And I did try another show earlier in the year called The Vegas Baby Show. People weren't into it. It was more of a variety show, so that didn't work. So this is working. And I'm hoping my White Sox show works. And then I'll be back next year for the Bears one. But I get these messages from fans, and it's a really cool shout out. And I had another fan who listened to me when at the end of my show, as I'm going to say right now, I say, be kind to one another, help somebody out if they need it, love one another. We're all in this together. There's just no point in making it any harder. And one of my fans did that. They were in line at the post office, and you know how long those lines are trying to mail packages at this time of year, and 2 people behind her, The gentleman had a bad leg and he had a brace on, and he walked in and said, "Oh my God, I'll never be able to stand this long in this line." And you know what? And she's old like me. She moved and gave him her spot. It was only two, but she's like, it helped. And I'm like, see? I said to her, you know what? You're going to have good karma for that. And that's not why we do good things, but it sure is nice. I got to tell you, it's a good feeling. And it's a good feeling to talk to people and make them smile, isn't it? See, now, when I'm out and about, no one can see me from here down because I have a mask on. So they can't see my dad's face on this woman that is just not a good look. So I usually can make people laugh with this, but right now with the masks, it don't work. So, but again, I want you to do all those things together. We are in this together. I love y'all. I really appreciate my fans. So let's see what happens on Sunday, 10 o'clock. It'll be in Minnesota. And go Bears. And as always, keep on rocking and rolling from Vegas, baby. Happy holidays.